things had not gone how we'd wanted. In fact, they got even worse. They told us there and then that she wouldn't it was very unlikely that she would survive, because we knew she was a girl. They told us that she was a girl, so we didn't, we had very little opportunity there. So it's one of those kind of hopeless moments. It's something you want to do something, but you
had no control.
So when she was born early, we ended up at what's called the snowdrop suite, which is for very poorly babies that have survived pregnancy. When everything had happened and Daisy had born and passed away, it was kind of one of those. I'm not very good at kind of sitting around doing nothing. So I had it in my head that I was going to do something. So that's when we were talking about Lewis earlier.
Your son?
My son who's just started secondary school, very sporty boy, loves his sport. So I said to him, right, we'll set a challenge. About 2 days later, we decided we were going to do 100 kilometres in 50 days.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lewis. 10 years ago, you'd have been lucky to see me run to the end of the road. These days, running is second nature to me. From marathons to park runs to putting my own running group through their paces. You'll often see me in suitably loud attire, getting ready to pound the pavements. And here's a secret, if I can do it, you can too. There's so many wonderful and inspiring stories in the world of running. And not just running, some of my favourite tales involve those who take to their wheelchairs, bikes or simply their own trusty feet in an attempt to get fitter, faster or just have some fun. In this podcast, I'm going to be in conversation with some of the most inspiring and fascinating of these people. Remember, it's your time, your speed, your way. The only person you need to keep up with is yourself. Welcome to this week's Running Tale. We have Wayne Chalmers. Now, Wayne is a Northampton park runner who I actually met at the racecourse. And he's also a teacher, a referee, a father of four. And he's also a founder of Team Daisy. So let's go over and find out what is Wayne's running tale.
I don't really like running too much, but in all seriousness, I only started really running because of refereeing. When I was about 20 or so, many moons ago, I started off refereeing, and as you go through the levels of refereeing, your fitness levels become more analysed by people, and every season you have to pass a fitness test.
Okay.
And I was in those days quite a lot heavier than I am now. So I had to really start training to do it, and I wasn't a great lover of running because how the fitness tests work, it's kind of a short distance, but you've got to go quite quick. So you're probably talking 7-minute miles over a couple of miles, which when I was probably about 18 stone at that point. So that's kind of how I started to get into running, but I would never say I was running any long distances at that point.
Did you play football before then? Would you say that was your sport?
I was a very bad footballer.
Okay.
So I got into refereeing through coaching really. So I used to coach a kids football team. Did the refereeing course just to help out because we didn't get any referees. And then a chap asked me to referee a game on a Saturday afternoon. And what do they say? The rest is history.
But running did happen a few years ago.
Yeah. So I think it was 2018. So the first half of 2018, my granddad, when I was coming from the northeast originally, he developed Alzheimer's. So for about 4 or 5 years. Obviously he suffered from that before he passed away, and I always said that I would do something, as a lot of people do. I was going to do something for his charity. So started looking, because I was doing Northampton Parkrun by this point. I thought, I was always seeing people doing it. I thought an opportunity Saturday morning, 9 o'clock's not a bad time. So went down to Northampton Park and started doing a bit down there, and then I signed up. I got a charity place for the London Landmarks Half Marathon, for the Alzheimer's charity, and so literally did very little training. Turned up in London as ever, as you know me, Michelle. Turned up late, standard, couldn't find the start line. Literally, kind of hit the start line because obviously you get different waves that you as you go in these races. So I was in the last wave anyway, because I wasn't, I didn't have any high ambitions of doing too much. So I think I did it in about 2 hours and 30 minutes or something like that, which I was quite proud of it at that time.
But you did it, 13.1 miles. That's still a distance for someone with little training.
Absolutely. And then I went back, got home, I got the tube, I drove home myself, got out of the car. I don't think I've ever felt pain like it for about a week. And so it was. But the thing with that was, I was joking about it at the start about not liking running. I wouldn't say I'm like a massive running fan, but I think it's just something everybody can do. So, and then that kind of, the London Landmarks is literally, you can't move 100 yards without seeing people. The streets are just lined with people, and it kind of gives you a buzz. You think, oh, this is brilliant. One thing I do remember is with 5 kilometres to go, this little kid had a sign up, and it said, just one park run to go. And I thought, oh, well, it's funny because I started off with park run, and it's kind of led to this, yeah.
So then I remember you coming to parkrun, and this is my first memory of you, with your son. Mm-hmm. And it was your son's first time, and then he was doing it for charity.
That's right. So it would have been about June, July time. My wife, Sarah, she became pregnant again. And you kind of go through the process of going down to hospital, and as she was our 4th child, you kind of get used to this, and I guess you take kind of things for granted that everything's going to go smoothly. We had a couple of not difficult pregnancies before that, but when Lucy, our first one, was born, it was like probably one of the most traumatic experiences being in the birth and because she just didn't want to come out, basically. So I think she ended up getting pulled out, and bless her, you look close, you can still see the scars today, but she's fine now. So yeah, we kind of went down to hospital, and then we went into the scanning room, and then you get this kind of uneasy feeling that there's something not quite right, by the whatever the body language of the person doing the scans or whatever. So because of what happened, we had to go over to another part of the hospital, and obviously at that point you're not in the, you don't know what's happening, and that, for a person like me who's kind of a bit of a control freak, I found that really, really difficult to start with, because I just wanted to know what was going on. And my wife works in healthcare, so she obviously had more of an awareness of what was happening, and obviously it wasn't good news. So then from that, we got we had the chat with the lady down there, and it is one of those really not one of those chats you don't want to have with anybody, because the prognosis there was very, very very, very poor. So we ended up, what they do is they refer you to a specialist unit. So we got referred to John Radcliffe Hospital, and again it's weird because I used to referee in Oxford quite regularly, and from where I was refereeing I could see John Radcliffe. So when I went there and I could see where I used to referee, it was kind of really kind of bizarre. But going back to, so we went there, and this would be a 12-week scan. So we went there, and basically, modern medicine is absolutely, it's outrageous really, because they can look at your baby's heart, even though it's only 12 weeks old, and probably the size of, being able to pull your thumb and your finger apart, I guess. And they said that it was obviously a major issue, but they can't kind of give you a definitive answer there, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, or what will end up if the pregnancy would be successful or whatever. So we had this we couldn't go back for about 3 or 4 weeks.
At what point was Sarah how far pregnant?
So this is 12 weeks.
Oh, 12
weeks
weeks
in. So yeah, so we were and we couldn't go back again for a few weeks because we'd been needing to see, if she'd grown and things like that. And when we went back again, things had not gone how we'd wanted. In fact, they got even worse. And, they told us there and then that she wouldn't it was very unlikely that she would survive, because we knew she was a girl. They told us that she was a girl. So we didn't, we had very little opportunity there. So it's one of those kind of hopeless moments. It's something you want to do something, but you
had control.
So when she was born early, down at Northampton, we ended up at what's called the Snowdrop Suite, which is for very poorly babies, babies that haven't survived pregnancy and things like that. So we went down there, and it was quite difficult. I mean, obviously everything was difficult, but the more difficult that you don't understand or you don't realise the volume of the amount of this goes on. You think, we're really unlucky, and they gave us the odds of it was like a 1 in hundreds of thousands chance of it happening. So yeah, when we were down there, we had to wait until there was actually space in this suite to be able to get in there, which was when something horrific and life change is going to happen to you. I don't want to say you don't want to get it over and done with, but you just you've got your mindset on these things happening, and so when we were down there, we met a couple of people, both of them called Rachel, which we were talking about earlier, who were bereavement midwives down there. So when everything had happened and Daisy had born and passed away, it was kind of one of those. I'm not very good at kind of sitting around doing nothing, so I had it in my head that I was going to do something. So that's when we were talking about Lewis earlier.
Your son,
my son who's just started secondary school and very sporty boy, loves his sport. So I said to him, right, we'll set a challenge, and about 2 days later we decided we were going to do 100 kilometres in 50 days. So that was challenge number 1. And I always remember, because I saw the first time we probably spoke, is coming round on the second loop and you shouting on your megaphone, "Come on, Lewis, come on!" And he turned out to me, "How did you know my name?" And I said, "I have no idea, Lewis, but you've probably seen it somewhere."
I know everyone's name at Northampton Park Run.
So we did that, and then we were going out, most days. We did a few more park runs, and he got down to about 26 minutes, 27 minutes.
That's not bad going.
I mean, for a 10-year-old, that sounds. I mean, he is a natural kind of athlete. He's not like me. He doesn't carry any weight whatsoever. He's pretty nippy, and good at most sports. So we finished off by doing the Santa Run in London, which is 10k. And the funniest thing was we just about got to 99k, and he stopped. He said, "I've had enough. I'm not."
And he had 1 more k left.
And I said to him, "You ain't stopping now." So we've done 99k. We've got 1 more to do, and then we can go to McDonald's. So off we went, and we did our final 1k, and we both got our medals. And the Santa runs are brilliant. You see some proper sights. But even then, it's weird looking back, because some of those things I remember the running with Lewis, but the period between finding out about Daisy and her being born is very kind of, I don't know, it's almost like you try to blank it out of your mind. So yeah, that's where Team Daisy came from. That was kind of the original event, and we've been pretty much going ever since.
And how much have you raised, do you know, so far? Because you have...
Yes, so I mean, we raised over £1,000 from that event alone, which we donated to Sands and Children Are Butterflies, which is a charity that was running at the time. Because what happens is, when your baby dies, or if your child dies, in the past, The rules were slightly different. In those days you had to pay for the funeral, but the charity covered the expenses and stuff like that. The government rules have subsequently changed, so it's good in that respect. So we raised some money for that, and then in 2019 we did the London landmarks again. Only this time there was a team of about 14 of us, all football referees and their wives and things like that, and we raised about £8,000 just from that going along, which all went to Tommy's for research into childhood or baby conditions, existing conditions and research and things like that. So and from that, that was our next event, and we've also raised lots of money through comedy evenings. So looking at, whenever I go out with people, they say, "Oh, you know everybody," and it's just kind of, I do it every time I go out, and I bump into people that I know all the time. One of my wife's good friends, her husband is a part-time comedian, so I said to him, like, how about we run some comedy nights, and another money will go to charity and blah blah blah. So we ran about 3 or 4 of those, and they were going really successfully, pretty much selling out. And then COVID came along.
I know, you was going to have the guy from Chase, Cinnamon, wasn't you, at the recent comedy you had booked?
So the Cinnamon was coming, and then obviously I think it was about 2 weeks before 2 weeks after lockdown was implemented in March. So we had to cancel that event. I mean, I should give a mention to Matt Facer at Queen's Park. Workingmen's Club, because he gave us a venue for free, and we were raising between £1,500 to £2,000 at a time for charities at that point. So they were really successful, and it was really difficult to kind of replicate that kind of income. But also at the same time, we've always been about raising awareness of charities or cases like ours.
But you also, with Step Forward Lewis, and when I asked for a team from Northampton Park Runners to raise money for Rowan's wheelchair from Rowan's Reality, you helped put a large chunk towards that, and we got the chair.
You're not shrinking violet, Michelle. You don't sit in the background for too long.
No, you're my twin.
So when I saw you, and I thought, this is the kind of thing again we wanted to get involved in. It's quite. I mean, going back to about Teen Daisy, it's a strange kind of feeling for people, because you have this thing where people don't want to upset you because they don't know if you want to talk about it, and sometimes you don't want to talk about it, but sometimes you do. But it's a really difficult subject for people to kind of discuss with you.
Well, on a previous podcast with Suzanne Smith, who lost her baby Jamie from birth, one of the twins, it was interesting talking to her that she was saying, raise it, mention it. Yeah. And I did talk to her afterwards privately, and I asked, I've got a close friend that did lose a baby, should I talk about Daisy? And she said, he most probably want to talk.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Teen Daisy is not only about raising money, because there is a lot of good charities out there who kind of along the same similar lines, I guess. But it's just kind of about raising awareness, and obviously us as a family, me and my wife and my 2 youngest children now, Jack and Rosie. Obviously she's too young to talk about it, but Jack loves Teen Daisy. So if I'm wearing a new Step Forward with Lewis t-shirt with Teen Daisy on the back,
he wants one.
He wants one. All the family want one. So. It's going to cost me more money probably, but I mean, it's funny, on Sunday we had our shopping delivered by the Tesco man, and by the time the Tesco man left, Jack had given him the full insight into what Teen Daisy was about, and showing him about, talking to him about
And can we talk about little Rosie?
Of course we can, yeah.
So Rosie is your rainbow
She's our rainbow baby. She is like the most perfect little thing. Bit of a change to the others, because she's got bright red hair. My wife Sarah's a redhead anyway, but she's got bright red hair, but she's got the most beautiful kind of temperament. She's the most chilled out baby you'll ever come across. So yeah, she's our little rainbow baby. And of course, I mean, having experienced it, kind of 12 months or so before what we went through, that was obviously another kind of stressful point, because you get this kind of first kind of 3 were relatively plain sailing, I guess, as you say. Although my wife once said, saying, she's like, her neighbours didn't go on for a long time. But I had a running joke at school. Whenever anybody was having a baby, I said, make sure you take a book to read, because labours can be a long time. Make sure you take some shorts, because the air conditioning down the hospital. And the other thing I said was, never ever, under any circumstances, waver from being at the top end. Don't go down the bottom end, because if you look down there, my goodness me, I did that for the first one. I think it's scarred me for life, but
But with Rosie, when you and your wife went for that first scan at 12 weeks, I take it the nerves.
Very stressful, because Sarah knows a lot about medicine. In fact, if she probably put a mind to it, she could probably be a doctor or something like that. I won't tell her this very often, but she is very intelligent. She's almost intelligent as me, probably more intelligent.
Well, she must be intelligent to be married to you and put up with you.
But she knew kind of the reasons why, because you can tell. So when a baby is scanned, they measure the fold. There's a fold behind the neck, and if it's out of a certain range, then they know there can be an issue. And that kind of, the magic of medicine, I guess. That can kind of tell you if there's issues, and they start delving deeper into it. So that's how we found out about Daisy, not being well, and that kind of, started the process of having to go through lots of different appointments. It's very strange, knowing there's something not right, and again, not being able to do anything about it, and just, hoping for the best, and then obviously it didn't turn out that way.
But we like to, carry on Daisy's name, bring out lots of positivity, and COVID hasn't stopped you, because you've done some challenges during.
Well, I was hoping you were going to lead me into that, Michelle, because we met a little while ago. Obviously, we did the rowing run.
Well, to be fair, we really got to know each other, I would say, January, February, when I called for help with the Rowan's chair.
Absolutely.
And that's when we really got to know. There was a small team of us.
Absolutely. So, it started off, didn't it, with kind of the infamous raffle and the quiz night. I said the quiz night, wasn't it? With a quiz night that never happened because of COVID. But we absolutely, we had a great team. To be fair to you, Michelle, you sorted the team out, but the different skills of people, and I remember when we did the shoe run, and Team Daisy had been mentioned, and a few people come up to me and said, "Oh, what's this Team Daisy thing all about?" And I obviously explained to them, and I said, "Yeah, we do this and we do that," and I thought, "Oh, that's great." So we got involved in that, and from that we kind of started doing a few more events. So I know we've teamed up together to do our virtual run, because virtual runs obviously they were quite popular, and they still are, and looking at the news today, it could be even more popular coming up, I guess. So we got involved in that, and it astounds me. I'm a bit of I don't kind of give it out too much, but I do worry sometimes about if I'm putting an event on, if it's going to go successfully or not, because obviously events are only as successful as the people who go and do them, and I sometimes feel like if I'm doing a sponsored event, I'm asking people to sponsor me all the time, and it's great, and I'm sure they feel good about giving money to a charity, but at the same time they're not getting anything back for it. And I know we've had this discussion. So doing the virtual run where people and we just come off the back of doing a 2:24, which leads into a 4:48. So the 2:24 was me, Luke, and Rob, two of my good friends who are very much involved in the charity, or the charity going forward at least. We ran 2 miles every 2 hours for 24 hours, so we did kind of a full marathon over 24 hours, it didn't sound too difficult, but during the night was the worst bit. And so what we're planning to do is a 4:48, which has been done before, so 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. So we kind of got involved in some running events through that. So the work we did with Step Forward Blue is we've got this week 85 people doing it. So I know when this podcast goes out, hopefully everybody will have completed, but people on last Saturday and last Sunday, I couldn't go on social media without seeing either a Step Forward Lewis post about it, people post about Team Daisy, I've ran 4 miles, I've ran 5 miles, I've walked this, I've cycled that, and you think, geez, that is just us. We've started something, and people are just getting involved in it and doing this and doing that, and it makes you feel quite humble, really. That we do all this work, and I know we talk a lot about stuff, and it's just amazing at what people will do.
And the enthusiasm has just been amazing.
It is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
But when you did the 2-2-24, 2 miles, every hour, in 24 hours, what was the 2-2? So it's 2-2-4.
2 hours, and you do 2 miles. So you do your 2 miles, and you have to stop, and you start again. So you go through the night. So the running bit we found quite easy. But
you had people turning up in the early hours that you would not expect to support you, but actually were running with you.
I couldn't. It would be unfair to not mention everybody's name, but I mean Brian Lewin, we both know very well. He turned up at 1:30 in the morning and 3:30 in the morning to run down the Brampton Valley Way with us.
And he's 72, and he was on a mission.
And he's joined us again, and he's a brilliant supporter of ours. But I mean, those were the worst runs because we were running down. We had head torches, but you can't see all the puddles that are down Brampton Valley Way, even if you've got torches and stuff. So
I like the 7:30 in the morning the next day, and you had runners from different clubs across Northampton. And how does it feel to see that the people that don't usually run with you suddenly I'm going to join you, so be part of this?
I mean, we started off at 9:30 in the morning, and we had about 15 people or so there, and then about 5:30 we did Parklands, so Bradlaugh Fields, which I know we've had a little look around as well. And at that point we drove over to Hunsbury. Now in our heads, Hunsbury's really flat. When we got to Hunsbury, delirious, oh my word, look at the size of those hills. So at this point, I was kind of alright. Luke was very grumpy, and Rob was just falling asleep every few minutes. And we went, his mum brought some food and stuff, and then we just wanted to, so we said, we're all going to stick together on this last run, and everyone was just trying to run up this hill as fast as they could, because I think we ran down it first, and while we were down it, and I was thinking, I've got to run back up this. And we did, and I was like, oh my word. But then when we got back, Stu Vincent was there, and Stu came down to a few of the runs, took lots of brilliant pictures, and really, really good. Again, another person you just didn't even have to ask him. He said, do you want me to come and do some photographs? And I was like, oh, absolutely. We've done some blogs about them, things about being caught up in the middle of an arrest in Upton, and my car breaking down, and having to get a new battery from the RAC, and literally getting to one of the runs, jumping out of the car and running around. So it's been all goals. Sometimes you think if you stop and think about what you've achieved over a case of kind of 2 years, it's absolutely phenomenal. I know people like you say yourself, and people get involved in when's the next event, and you're seeing the same faces at comedy nights, and seeing different people running, and seeing everything on Instagram. You see it all on Facebook, Twitter, we run their Strava. You think, oh my word,
and this wouldn't have happened without Daisy. So she carries on, not just with you, but with everyone now.
No, and what our next kind of step is, and I know we've spoken about this, is that we want to get registered as an official charity. So what we've been doing at the moment is raising money and kind of diverse into different charities, but we want to kind of have a bit more ownership of it ourselves, so that we can create a legacy. Really, that was always my thing, was kind of raise awareness, create a legacy, don't let that be forgotten by everybody, not just us. Obviously us as a family we won't forget, but create that kind of legacy. So going forward, my very good friend, who I'll have to give a mention, Bev Strong, who from the offset, she was like a brilliant supporter, has always been a good friend of mine, and she started running, not through Team Daisy as such, but she started running. She joined the running club. She lives in Sandy in Bedfordshire, so she did the London Landmarks half marathon with us. Then she said she was never ever doing another half marathon again, absolutely. But she's kind of involved, and she's going to be one of the trustees of our charity. So we've got we've got a brilliant infrastructure, we've got a great team already set up, and moving forward. We ran part of the 2224. We did a virtual race for Body Hodges, and Body Hodges is another charity. And the guy, we raised £1,000 just
through Team Daisy.
Through Team Daisy to send to them. And he said to us, thanks, it was unbelievable, because they weren't even asking for donations, but we sorted some stuff out. And then he said that he emailed me yesterday and said, I understand you're starting your charity. Let me help you. Let me get involved. So if I know people have told me that setting up a charity is very difficult, or that you can come across a few pitfalls. He said, I don't want you to, not have the expertise. So I said, he's willing to help us out. And, we were lucky that after Daisy died, they have a boathouse in East Stamford. It's a lovely place on the reservoir there, and we stayed there for a week as a family, and that's why I kind of wanted to give something back to them as well. So it's a case of people who help you, we try and give back. The same with Rowan stuff as well was really, really good. So we've become very successful. Our name's kind of getting out there, and now we're getting t-shirts printed, and if you ever go on the social media with Step Forward Lewis or ourselves or whatever, you'll see a picture. And again, I mentioned to Flash, who designed our logo as well, which is something that we wanted to get done. So it's one thing, and I know you know this on the show, if you want something doing, you just got to go and ask people, because people will generally say yes, and if they can't, but people will generally help you out, and often they'll do it through the goodness of their own hearts. I mean, Flash was brilliant. She said, yeah, I said, I actually drew the picture of the logo on a piece of paper, which, if you've ever seen my art skills, was pretty dreadful. But on the logo, we've got Daisy's footprint, so they're always kind of part of us wherever we go. And all the family, like I say, now wanting t-shirts and things like that. Can
you let people know what your social media is for Team Daisy so they can visit themselves?
So we've got our Facebook page is Team Daisy Chalmers. We're on Twitter as well, Team Daisy 2018. We've got Instagram, and we've got a website which is www.teamdaisy.co.uk. But we post out quite regularly, and we'll let people know how last week's, by the time this comes out, virtual run has gone, because, as I say, lots of people are doing lots of kilometres, lots of miles, and it's been another successful event, and fingers crossed we've got some other big events in the pipeline.
I hope you enjoyed this week's Running Tales podcast. Please, please, please leave us a rating or review wherever you listen. It helps other people find us so they can listen too. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week for another Running Tale.